Up next on the Monday edition of Eyewitness News, cult leader David Koresh's apocalyptic vision came true this morning in a fiery end to the 51-day standoff in Waco. We'll have a live report.
Community Peace is being credited with helping to keep our city's streets calm in the wake of the Rodney King verdict, but the job isn't over yet. We'll tell you about the future plans. And this summer could be more dangerous than ever here in the desert. We'll tell you why on Eyewitness News next.
You're watching Channel 8. And now, people you can count on. Gary Waddell, Paula Francis, Eric Randall, and Scott Higgins. This is Channel 8's Eyewitness News at 6.
Good evening. Doomsday came just after high noon for dozens of members of the Branch Davidian cult. The compound near Waco, Texas went up in a horrifying fireball. Authorities believe the flames were touched off on orders from cult leader David Koresh. Many had feared the 51-day standoff would end this way. Koresh had often described a vision of an apocalyptic climax to his feud with federal officials. The tragedy is that apparently 86 people died in the flames and at least 24 of them were children.
Juana Hart has been following this story all day. She joins us now from the newsroom. Juana, any idea now on why the cult members apparently started those fires themselves?
Gary, the fire was started on purpose by the cult members. They say that the Justice Department says that at least one of the members has confirmed that, one of the people who was taken into custody today. Dozens of lives have been lost, and that was, of course, what federal authorities were fearing in that mass suicide attempt. The standoff, or this latest attack, began at about 4 o'clock this morning, Las Vegas time. Military tanks began bashing holes into parts of the complex, apparently in an effort to force all of the cult members to a central part of the building so they could be forced out of the area. The FBI says the tanks were met by heavy gunfire, but agents did not shoot back. A short time later, agents began pumping what they call a non-lethal, non-flammable tear gas throughout the compound, including a buried bus and underground tunnel built by the cult in preparation for the end of the world. U.S. Attorney General Janet Reno, who approved the attack, says it was merely designed to be a step forward toward a peaceful end.
Terrible tragedy of today, but with no reason to think we could eliminate the risk of mass suicide at any point Koresh chose, and with increasing risk in the meantime to the life, health, and safety to all concerned, most particularly the children within the compound.
At about 10, smoke began pouring from one of the windows, and just 10 minutes later, the building was fully engulfed in flames. During the assault, one person could be seen jumping from a roof. Another came out of the compound with his hands up and was taken into custody. There was some speculation that Branch Davidian cult leader David Koresh and 95 followers, holed up since a deadly shootout with federal agents 51 days ago, might be hiding underground. But no one seemed to be sure about the fate of that group, which included at least 17 children. And Gary, you asked earlier why that fire was set. There had been some speculation earlier that the group had said that they wanted to be together eternally, and they had, of course, made some preparations for the end of the world or Armageddon. And apparently this may have been David Koresh's way of making sure that they all ended together. Many people said that his ego played a part in this whole thing, and that because he did not want the people around him to realize that he was not the Messiah or whoever he said that he was, that this was a way of being able to go out in the way that he wanted to and save face. Cult leader David Koresh, of course, is not listed among those people who are said to be survivors this evening, but there is that underground tunnel. Authorities are very worried about finding out what's in there so that they can find out whether indeed he may still be alive. Gary, Paula.
Thank you, Juana.
Amazing. Police in Los Angeles say there was not one single incidence of verdict-related crime in that city over the weekend. While 2 officers were acquitted Saturday morning when the verdicts came in, Sergeant Stacy Kuhn and Officer Lawrence Powell were found guilty of violating King's civil rights. Those 2 verdicts, plus the increased police presence on LA's streets, led to an extremely peaceful weekend there. But what was it like in the courtroom when the verdicts were read? In an excerpt from tonight's program, Inside Edition, here on Channel 8, the jury foreman describes the scene.
Well, I was also looking at the court clerk, who was, in my mind, he does this for a living. He reads verdicts. He was shaking. when he was reading this. This is a major case.
Was that the feeling that permeated throughout the courtroom?
I think so. There was not a lot of noise in there. You probably wouldn't have believed there was that many people because there was no sound at all.
The complete interview will air on Inside Edition at 7:30 this evening right here on Channel 8.
You may have noticed extra police cars in your neighborhood over the weekend. Did it make you feel safer? Many Las Vegas area residents say the extra police made them feel more secure in the wake of the police beating verdicts. Metro, North Las Vegas, and Henderson police say at first glance it appears crime was below normal with the stepped-up patrolling during the weekend. Police were a welcome sight for residents from Sierra Vista to Summerlin.
I felt very comfortable. I felt that even going into town, I felt, safe in the sense that they were available or around if something did happen.
Safe, yeah, kind of safe because this area is dangerous in here. There's too much drugs and all kinds of stuff in here, but it's more safe now.
Police say neighbors should thank each other for the peaceful weekend. They say criminals did not strike as often because the community sent a message that they had better not do so. The group Community Peace is being credited with helping to keep calm following the King verdicts in L.A. But just because the trial is over, the group says its work is not done. As Carla Alston tells us tonight, Community Peace will now begin pushing for parity in the judicial system.
I noticed a police officer following me.
25-year-old Robert Mitchell.
They turned the lights on, got out the car and pointed a weapon at me, and all of a sudden.
Says he has been falsely stopped and or arrested by police on more than one occasion.
I've spent time in jail for that and, giving me a record.
Robert's 23-year-old brother Chester has also been stopped. As a matter of fact, most of the 6 Mitchell brothers have. They say it's not uncommon for black men in general. This is why the group Community Peace is now taking a close look at the judicial system.
The judicial system in its simple makeup is bias, and minorities don't get a fair chance most of the time.
Chester Mitchell believes this, but also believes nothing can be done.
I guess I'm used to it, I mean, just from being around, I guess, in the neighborhood and everything, you get put on the car every once in a while and ask questions. Why are you over here? Why are you with these people?
Let me stop you here. You say you're used to this. Do you consider this normal to have the police drive down the street and put you up against the car?
Yeah, it's normal. I mean,
in this community or
over in this neighborhood, that's normal. That's normal.
But Community Peace wants this to be an abnormal scene rather than an accepted one. Community Peace is working on a questionnaire that will be distributed within the black community regarding the fairness of the justice system. The group says it will then have a better idea of exactly what needs to be done to address the problem. Carla Alston, Eyewitness News 8.
Before the verdict in the Rodney King trial, residents all over the valley were buying guns to protect themselves against violence that never happened. Most of the fear came from predominantly white neighborhoods. Residents were afraid their communities might become the targets of violence. Where did all those rumors and all that fear come from? Brooke Willis joins us now to explain some of it. Brooke?
Well, Gary and Paula, some people are blaming the media for all those rumors, but others, including police, point to something much more troubling, a prejudice in this community that created an us against them mentality. Green Valley resident Terry Litton is having lunch with her 2 young children at the Green Valley Port of Subs. Unlike others who live in this well-groomed community, she doesn't believe the fear that the area would be the target of violence after the verdict was justified. In fact, Terry Litton thinks it's a sad commentary on the community as a whole.
There's a lot of racial tension and judgment on the black community.
Other Green Valley residents, though, do feel the fear was justified. Why do you think those rumors got started?
Because of last time when they tore up their own neighborhoods, and I think they realized that was kind of stupid, so they go for the nicer neighborhoods to try to hurt them, and to try to get their point across.
Last year's rioting erupted in West Las Vegas, with a part of the Nucleus Plaza going up in flames. In spite of what happened here, Nucleus Plaza owner John Edmond was optimistic there would not be any more trouble after this verdict. He, too, thinks the fear came from prejudice.
Gun sales had begun to go up in the predominant white neighborhoods, and I think it was a little bit of a racial type thing that they kind of was a little bit afraid of some type of retaliation by, blacks.
Edmund's focus now is on rebuilding what was destroyed here at Nucleus Plaza, and he thinks the unfounded rumors should be a sign that the community as a whole also needs to rebuild from within.
We as people are gotta rely on each other more. We gotta trust each other more, and we as Southern Nevada just gotta believe in each other.
Now, those rumors caused so much needless fear. That seems to be the biggest problem that plagued this community while the whole Rodney King verdict was pending, rather than any violence. Gary and Paula?
What about police and other residents? Are they concerned now about all the guns that are in private hands?
Well, so many. As you know, we were doing stories about that. There were so many people who were going to all the gun shops. They were telling us, for example, that shotguns had sold out because there wasn't any waiting period for them. And that's always a concern for police, that when individuals buy guns and they don't know how to properly use them, they could be hurting themselves more than anybody else.
Okay. Thanks, Brooke.
Fire investigators are looking for 2 youngsters who may have started a weekend brush fire with matches. The fire blackened 5 acres of land in the desert in East Las Vegas. Experts say this may be just the beginning of a long, hot summer, since there is more dead brush in the desert this year than in years before. Melissa Jew has the latest on the fire and the dangers.
Well, the drier it is, the faster it spreads. Yeah, this green brush we see now, not around us obviously, but in the valley, will soon die off.
The fire's still smoldering, leaving behind the blackened remains of the desert. Sunday's flames spread quickly because it was covered with desert brush. The winter rains were heavier than normal this year, which means there's more of this brush out here. By the summer, it dries out, becoming the perfect fuel for fire.
Once it's ignited, it's just going to spread. And when you've got a fuel load like we have surrounding us, or in a lot of acreage in the valley, all it needs is a spark, really.
A spark that costs thousands of dollars. Taxpayers were billed $15,000 for Sunday's fire. Investigators believe kids with matches set off these desert flames, but many brush fires ignite by accident.
A hot exhaust or catalytic converter, cigarette, match, campfire goes haywire, and you've got all the makings. You've got plenty of fuel, dry brush. And of course, the oxygen and wind blows. It just adds to it, spreads it around, changes directions, makes it harder to fight.
Mother Nature may have supplied more fuel for fire this summer, but experts say it's up to residents to keep the flames from sparking up. Melissa Jew, Eyewitness News 8.
Mark Pfister joins us now with our first forecast of the hour.
Turned out to be a great day today.
Oh, yes.
Gorgeous day. Normal high temperatures around 79 degrees, but today we only got up to about 73 degrees. Take a look outside on Skycam. It's a gorgeous one. We'll tell you what we've got coming up for our first forecast. We're looking at mostly clear night tonight. Nice and cool. The breezes will start to crank up. Hey, what time is it right now? Let's check out. We'll wait there. It's 6:12, 12 minutes past 6 o'clock. It's 77 degrees. All right, so that's our high temperature so far for the day. Now, of course, that's on top of the building there. Now, a lot of these bank thermometers and the big old giant bank signs are not accurate because of the way they mount the thermometer that senses the unit there. So when you're driving around later on this year, throughout the summer, up and down the highways, and you see a sign that says 108, chances are it's probably only 100. So we'll give you a full forecast coming up in just a couple of minutes. Stay with us.
You mean when that one on Sarah says 137, we shouldn't believe it?
No, I don't think so.
August? No, I always did.
Even though it feels like it. I think it's a feels like temperature.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Coming up, Southern Nevadans are getting ready to take part in this year's Earth Day celebrations. We'll tell you how you can get involved.
And we will tell you about Disney's MTV-like plan to change the face of children's TV.
For a world experience in dining, come to the Riviera Hotel and Casino. You can enjoy the finest of Italian cuisine in the Ristorante Italiano. Savor the taste of the Orient in our famous rickshaw. Or try our delicious steak and seafood dinners in fabulous Christopher's. The Riviera Hotel and Casino is fine dining. Call 734-5110.
I'm Tom Saida. I'd like to talk to you about something very serious facing all of us today. AIDS, our #1 health issue. Aid for AIDS of Nevada is struggling to serve the needs of their client base, which increases over 50% per year. Las Vegas Chrysler Plymouth continues to show their dedication to Southern Nevada by donating $75 for every vehicle sold this month to AFAN, a very hard-working organization. Together, we can make a difference.
You can store all this at Public Storage, and 1 month's rent is free. You can store all this at Public Storage and still get 1 month's rent free. You can even store all this at Public Storage and 1 month's rent is free. Call Public Storage. You store it, you lock it, you keep the key.
Extra, extra, read all about it. These are the extra, extra trucks Las Vegas drives. Extended cab, GMC Sierra and GMC Sonoma. What's so extra about these trucks? We've ordered an extra shipment of these GMC trucks with features like AM/FM stereo and rear wheel anti-lock brakes. And see your 3 Las Vegas GMC truck centers for an extra good deal. Extra, extra, this ends soon. See your 3 Las Vegas Desert GMC truck centers today. A refreshing difference. No hassles, no pressure, just great values.
Hazardous waste finds its way into the desert all over southern Nevada. Most of the time it gets there because of illegal dumping by people who decide to skirt the law. As Caroline Blakely reports, this problem is costing everyone money.
This pile of oil filters is dumped at the base of Sunrise Mountain on public land.
What we found out is that these oil filters here have consist of a tin lead compound, which is a hazardous substance, and these should have been recycled. But unfortunately, people have chosen to come out here and just dump it on us, so we're going to have to dispose of it now.
Across town near Industrial Road, the county's hazardous materials unit responds to a call. This dump tanker is leaking a black substance. This unit responds to as many as 3 calls a week.
Everybody sees, hey, this is an area, it's desert. We can throw whatever we want in the desert, and you can't.
Illegal dumping is everyone's problem. When the person responsible can't be found, then the property owner must eat the cost for cleanup. But when the property belongs to the government, that means the taxpayers take a hit. One reason people may illegally dump is because it can be expensive to get rid of waste. One 55-gallon drum of an unknown substance will cost at least $1,000 to dispose of legally. But one of the most common things dumped is waste oil, and that can be inexpensive to get rid of.
A lot of people will just throw away their waste oil. But what they could do is contact a waste oil company, and they would even pick it up for a certain cost, a real small percent.
Every effort is made to find lawbreakers when it comes to desert dumping. About half of the cases are solved, and what the lawbreaker finds out is instead of just paying to dispose of the waste, they must now pay for cleanup as well as face fines. Caroline Blakely, Eyewitness News 8.
You might think that Nevadans against a nuclear dump are the only ones who would have to worry if the dump is built in Yucca Mountain, but opponents of the dump are telling other states they had better worry too. Nevada's anti-dump spokesman Bob Lux told people in Omaha, Nebraska that if Nevada gets the dump, more than 30,000 truckloads of nuclear waste would be transported through that state, headed for Nevada. Researchers from the state and from UNLV came up with the theory after doing a study of possible nuclear waste transportation routes. The latest figures from the state taxation department show February was a good month for Nevada businesses. Statewide, taxable sales for the month were up almost 9% from last year. Here in Clark County, they were up a whopping 11.9% from February of 1992. The biggest increase for the state came in manufacturing and wholesale businesses, up 42.7% from last year.
The latest in television technology is being hawked to some 55,000 broadcast executives from around the world this week. The National Association of Broadcasters convention is in town. 800 companies are displaying their wares at the annual convention. The keynote speaker from Apple Computers today told an audience of decision makers how new technology will soon allow us to talk on the phone, watch TV, and hook up to a computer all through one system. Tomorrow, reporters and producers of the CBS 60 Minutes program will be inducted into the Television Broadcasting Hall of Fame.
With the NAB as the backdrop, the Walt Disney Studios today announced a new fall show aimed at educating kids. The show teaches science principles, and as Don Hudson tells us, to keep the kids interested, it will be presented a bit like MTV.
But with Bill Nye, the science guy, you get all science all the time.
Well, he isn't Mr. Rogers, but Bill Nye is a mechanical engineer and television host who loves to teach children in his own unique way.
Water is always moving all around the Earth in something called the water cycle, up and down all the time.
And his show is bringing in the kids. During its first airing in Seattle, it was the third highest rated show. During the National Association of Broadcasters convention, Disney announced it will produce 26 more shows like it for the fall season. Walt Disney Studio President Richard Frank says on TV, this is about the only way to get kids turned on to learning.
We're trying to take education and make it accessible to today's children. And to do that, you have to do it graphically. You have to do it in an exciting fashion.
It's also a way to keep in line with the Federal Communications Commission's new higher standards for children's television. During the past few months, the FCC put some teeth into its Children's Television Act of 1990, and the Jetsons is not part of the educational requirements. According to child psychologists, that's good news for this 3-year-old Las Vegas boy and the thousands of children just like him.
Young children in particular are acting out what's going on around them. They will mimic their parents, they will mimic their friends, and they're certainly going to mimic what they see on TV.
Of course, Disney's Bill Nye the Science Guy won't be the only new educational show for your children. Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego and Name Your Adventure will hit the commercial airwaves. And of course, Beekman's World will be back. And that should help give kids even more informational shows to watch come September. Don Hudson, Eyewitness News 8.
I wanted to see more.
Yeah. As Eyewitness News continues, we'll tell you why U.S. savings bonds may be just the right investments for short-term savers.
In Medical Breakthroughs, we'll show you why smaller could be better when it comes to technology. And a tailhook sex scandal is back in the headlines once again. We'll tell you about the Pentagon's latest report when we come back.
Domino's presents Something for Nothing.
Something for nothing is really something. Really something when you call Domino's.
Order Domino's pizza and there's always something for nothing. Something for free. Delivered hot and fresh in 30 minutes guaranteed. For nothing.
Something for nothing when you call Domino's.
Now for a limited time, when you order any large pizza at regular price, you get a free movie rental certificate from Video Time. At Domino's, there's always something for nothing.
10 years have gone by since the first American-made Accord rolled off the assembly line in Marysville, Ohio. So the folks at Honda thought they'd introduce a special anniversary edition. It has air conditioning, power windows, power door locks, an automatic transmission, driver's side airbag, and anti-lock brakes. All at a price that's a real cause for celebration.
Test drive this special edition Accord. You'll enjoy the price as much as the ride.
America's always been a country of inventors, a nation of relentless tinkerers, a land of improvisation. Businesses starting garages, hobbies turn into industries. And if you're Bank of America, you hold up your end of the job by making sure every business service is in place for when the next brainstorm hits in the middle of the night. Banking on America. Bank of America.
The Old South.
The Far East.
Together in the plantation room at the Showboat.
Enjoy a selection of favorites, all at just $5.95.
Along with delicious steaks and seafood in the southern atmosphere of the plantation room.
The Far East meets the Old South.
Nightly at the Showboat.
You're watching Channel 8's Eyewitness News at 6.
All this week in 8 on Your Side, we'll salute this year's Earth Day celebration by providing some tips on how you and your family can protect the environment. Something as simple as wearing a sweater to cut down on heat consumption or buying paper instead of plastic can make a great difference. Southern Nevadans are getting ready to appreciate the Earth. The 23rd annual Earth Day officially lands on Thursday of this week, but most people will observe the event this weekend. As Midori Wa tells us, while environmental awareness is at an all-time high in Southern Nevada, some say we still have a long way to go.
This is a sight that environmentalists love to see, a Southern Nevadan recycling her trash instead of throwing it away. This kind of environmental awareness is the main point of Earth Day.
It's really a celebration of the Earth. It's an opportunity for us to look about us and reflect on what we've got and try to collectively increase our interest in making it a better place to live.
According to Silver State Disposal, Southern Nevadans are recycling now more than ever. Whenever new phone books come out, there's a community drive to recycle the old ones. Even Christmas trees get recycled, so mulch from the trees can be used to spawn new trees. While these efforts are encouraging, environmentalists say we can do more.
We'd also like to get people to think in terms of generating less waste. Obviously, if we could use more intelligent packaging and avoid creating waste, then recycling becomes less and less necessary.
Southern Nevadans will be able to pick up some trash cutting tips during Earth Day celebrations here on the UNLV campus this Sunday. There will also be a car fueled by natural gas, even a band amplified by solar energy to drive home the point that a little conservation and creativity goes a long way towards preserving the Earth. Midori Wa, Eyewitness, News 8.
Earth Day celebrations will be held near the Student Union on the UNLV campus this Sunday. They will start at noon and last until about 5 o'clock. Just a month ago, the Treasury Department lowered the boom on American savers by lowering the rate on U.S. savings bonds. But while the bonds have lost their magic as a long-term investment, for short-term savers, they may still be the ticket. A look at why in tonight's Kiplinger Personal Finance Report.
Finally able to
John and Kathy Glade are rethinking the college savings plan they just started for Rachel. Savings bonds were part of their plan until the rate on double E's took a nosedive.
What happened was the rate was lowered from 6% to 4%. Actually, that's the guaranteed minimum rate. You won't earn less than that for all bonds bought after the 1st of March, 1993. Now, the question is, are savings bonds worth it now? Are they worth
The answer depends on what you hope to achieve. If your goals are long-term, retirement or college, you can do better, much better in growth stock mutual funds and high-quality bond funds.
However, over the short term, what's interesting is that in addition to lowering the rate to 4%, the Treasury has said that savings bonds will now pay 4% from day one.
You still have to hold them for at least 6 months, but after that, if you decide to cash them in, you'll collect 4% for all 6 months you've had them.
And in addition to that, the increase in value of bonds will be credited every month instead of every 6 months. So what this means is that after 6 months, you bought your 4% bond. After 6 months, you can redeem that bond at any time and get the interest that you've earned up to that point.
These changes make savings bonds a more flexible investment, and that is some very good news. Now I'm done. Tomorrow we will tell you why you don't need a lot of money to invest in the stock market.
Your lips weren't even moving.
I noticed that.
Coming up in our second half hour, Mark Pfister will be here with a Tuesday weather forecast.
And the 51-day cult standoff in Texas is over, but oh, what an end it was. We'll have the very latest.
There's a legend in the old Southwest of a secret valley where each night the stars shower magic on the land. It's said the entrance to this valley is guarded by 3 wolves, Tres Lobos. This enchantment is found in the people who live there and in the food they prepare. The legend persists, but the magic of the stars has been captured at the Stardust Las Vegas, the place Tres Lobos, a restaurant like none other.
This is the final day to buy a great used car or truck at the Thomas & Mack parking lot. A total liquidation of every vehicle before auction must take place. No reasonable offer will be refused. Save thousands.
A pending county ordinance could make this incredible money-saving event the last tent sale.
Don't waste your time on so-called sales. Go to where you'll find over 300 of the absolute best used car and truck buys starting at only $9.95.
The family of Fletcher Jones dealerships.
Great auto and truck liquidation at the Thomas & Mack. Look at today's RJ for the coupon worth $500 towards the purchase of the vehicle of your choice. The sale ends tonight at 10 p.m.
Everyone's doing the Tango. Tango Pools and Spas. The experts are creating your total backyard resort. Tango's been making Southern Nevada's dreams come true for over 22 years by providing unique designs, quality construction, personalized service, 2 supply stores, creative landscaping, and professional pool cleaning service, all to complete your private oasis. Play it cool in a Tango Pool.
What I guarantee it means is that I, George, am going to make sure that you're going to be happy with your purchase. If you're not wearing that suit, we want to either get you a new suit or get you your money back. I guarantee it.
Stories making national headlines. A disturbing shootout on the streets of Sacramento is caught on videotape, and inmates in an Ohio prison demand to talk to a lawyer. But first, The standoff in Waco ended in flames today. As we reported at the top of the hour, federal authorities believe cult leader David Koresh either started the fire himself or ordered it started. At least 86 people are believed dead. Charles Ziwi reports.
Armageddon at Ranch Apocalypse came in clouds of tear gas and a raging fire set by cult members. It took less than an hour for the blaze to consume the wood frame compound where 33-year-old Doomsday Messiah David Koresh and 94 followers held lawmen at bay for 51 days. Just before dawn, FBI agents called Cult Lieutenant Steve Schneider and ordered the group to surrender. Schneider reportedly hung up on agents. 5 minutes later, armored vehicles began ripping holes in buildings and pumping in tear gas.
Non-lethal gas was inserted into the compound at approximately 6:04 a.m. It is our belief that the occupants used gas masks to protect themselves.
Davidians responded with heavy gunfire, but agents didn't fire back. 6 hours later, after another APC smashed into a building, 2 Davidians inside were seen by FBI snipers using torches to set the complex ablaze. Firefighters were not called in for almost an hour, but by that time, the compound was a heap of smoldering embers. Authorities said only 8 adult cult members and 1 16-year-old girl survived. 6 of them were injured, some burned critically.
I approved the plan and I'm responsible for it. I advised the president, but I did not advise him as to the details.
Koresh, who as late as last week warned the FBI they would be consumed by fire if they attacked, was not among the survivors. The inferno ended the second longest siege in U.S. history that began February 28th when ATF agents tried to serve search warrants on Koresh and his sect for possession of illegal weapons. Both a congressional and independent investigation of what happened here in Waco is expected now. No telling how long that'll take. FBI agents, meanwhile, are still at the scene trying to identify bodies. This is Charles Ziwi reporting.
Relatives of cult leader David Koresh and some of his followers reacted with fear and anger to the fiery end of that 51-day standoff. Authorities said cult members set the blaze, while others blamed the inferno on federal agents. The mother of one of the members who made it to the compound near Waco a week ago now must deal with the reality she'll never see her daughter again.
I just had a premonition yesterday.
What was that telling you? About what?
I'd never see her again.
David Koresh's grandmother said there was no way that her grandson would set the compound ablaze. In her words, he wouldn't do that to those children.
Authorities say at least 8 people are dead in the crash of a jet that was carrying South Dakota Governor George Mitchelson. Officials say the plane crashed in eastern Iowa late this afternoon, killing all 8 people on board. An aide to Iowa Governor Terry Branstad says the airplane's passenger list included the South Dakota governor, and a spokesman for the South Dakota governor confirms he was on the plane. The FAA says the jet hit a barn and silo outside Dubuque, Iowa, as it headed for an emergency landing at the Dubuque airport.
Police in California say they don't know why a man shot 2 librarians today before he was shot and killed by a police SWAT officer. The man was on the roof of Sacramento's new downtown library and plunged to the ground after he was shot. The man, identified as 38-year-old Barrett Street, was heard mumbling that his wife wasn't being treated properly, but police say they don't know what he was referring to. Investigators still haven't been able to find Street's wife or learn where she is.
Inmates in the prison standoff in Ohio are demanding to talk to an attorney. They've been flying a